Hey guys, what's up? It's me, the Cubing Bear, and today we're taking a look at the 4x4, and today we are learning the Yao method. The Yao method on the 4x4 is a more advanced type of method that's used by most faster speed cubers. You already know Max Park and Felix use this method. There's a little bit of a difference, but these differences actually make big improvements in time. So I'm going to go and walk through the whole process, and at the end I'm going to go through an entire walkthrough solve of what we learned. So let's go ahead and scramble up the cube. And yeah, let's get started. I forgot to mention that if you guys do not know how to solve a 4x4, then I would not recommend using this video. You would want to learn how to solve 4x4 in the basic method first, and then move on to the advanced method. So let's get started. Alrighty then guys, so we can see right here that the cube is actually scrambled here. We have a nice little thingy, and the first thing we're going to start off with is building the white center. So we could see right here that our white center is built upon right there, and we're just going to be looking around for pieces to pair it up with. So I can see that if I move this like that, then I can pair this one up pretty easily up there. Then I can see these two right here. So when you have a case like this, a pretty good way of actually being able to pair them is by doing I would say a double R, U prime, R prime, and that will solve for that edge. The next step we want to do is we want to pair these two together, so we're going to move this down, that way we could bring this in. And we have completed the white center right there. The next step in the Yao method is solving for the yellow side, and here is where it's pretty simple. You can see that I wouldn't really go into much depth into this. People don't usually go in depth on how to solve for this, but you know, if you wanted to know, you would build a center like that. And when you have a center right here, but you could see that this is there, and if we were just to put it up like that, we would mess this up right here. One of the best things that you can do in that situation is do a U2, then move it back down, and that will solve for that edge. And we actually preserved our little bar up here. So the last step is making the last bar, and this is pretty explanatory. Put that up there. And so in this situation, we don't actually do the same thing that we did before. What we would actually do is we would move this one to there. That way we can move it up. Do the U2 as we did before, then move it back down, creating this one and this one together, and we have solved for that. Now the next part is to build the first three edges. So this next part is really where the Yao method really comes in, because this is the part where we're really going to start building and edge pairing together. So the first thing that we see here is we actually see this sort of edge right here, the orange edge. I'm going to use that one, and I'm going to bring this one up like that, and I'm going to pair them together, and I'm going to put it down right here to the white side. So you're probably wondering why I did this, and it's a pretty good reason. The reason why we did this is because in the future we're going to be pairing three together. It's going to be this edge, another edge right here, and another edge right there, and that is going to create the first step in the Yao process, which is solving for the first three edges. Then we're going to turn to building the first four centers. Then we're going to move on to finishing up the last centers, making the last edges, making two F2L pairs, then solving for 3x3 and parity. We're going to go through all that right now. So once we've completed this edge, we're going to go on to the next edge in the process. So in this situation, you want to have your 3x3 or any odd puzzle with has the color scheme correct. So we could see that yellow, orange, and blue. So I know that the blue is next. When we go back to the 4x4, we will see that there's a blue edge right there, and I need to find the other one. So it's right here. And if you come across a situation where they're both in the same direction, you can just do an F2. It will move that down and this up, and they will be together. Now we have, oh shoot. Now you want to make sure that the blue is on the right of orange. So we're going to move this way and then move this down. And as you can see, we have done the orange and the blue. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the green one. No, we're going to go over to the red one and find the red one. So we could see this one right here, but if we put the red down there, it's going to mess up this piece. So to preserve this, what you're going to do is you're going to do an L prime. No, you're going to do an R, U prime, R prime, and that will move the edge down right there. Pair it up like that with a middle slice, and since orange and red are opposites, if I move it down here, they'll be next to each other, and we don't want that. What we're going to do is we're going to move it 1D that way, move that down right there, and we have completed. And by doing so, we have completed the first three sort of edges in the situation. So that's awesome. Now we're going to go on to center building. So center building on the Yao method is where it gets a little bit tricky, because you really have to keep in mind of where your pieces, your 3 edges are. So what we do is basically we are going to first start off with making sure that we hold it this way. You usually want to hold it like this, with the yellow on the right and the white on the left. And you can only use the U layer. You can only use this U layer on this side. You cannot do it like this. You cannot move it like that. You always have to make sure that this is the layer that you use, because this is the part that doesn't have an edge. These ones have solve edges, and we need to preserve them for the next part of the solve. So we're going to do that by using this particular method. So we're going to preserve them by making sure that this layer stays safe. So we always want to have, whenever we move, we always want to do it like this, holding this edge down, making sure that all 3 layers move along with the edge, like that. So let's solve for the blue edge. Since I already see that it's solved right there, we're going to go on to, we have a bar right there. This is where the blue edge will be. So let's go ahead and look for the blue edge. So we can see right here that this one should go right there. So I'm going to move it that way, making sure that this layer right here is empty. You want to move it like that, and we can move this like that and move it down that way. Move this out of the way. You can move that up like that. So you can see we've built the blue edge, which is back here. So let's move it to where the blue edge is. So we can see the blue edge is right there. And this is where mastering your color scheme is really important, because right before blue comes orange. So in terms of that, we're going to go to this side, and this is going to be the orange side. So we can see that if we move this like this, we can move this piece up there, move it out of the way, move it back down. And so now we have a piece right there. Orange is supposed to go right here, but we can put it in like we did with an edge. And the way you can do that, if you have a bar like this and you want to insert it in right there, you can do this U2 and then up, making sure that this is empty. So we go on to more places. Okay, so we already have this solved, and since it's all the way over there, what we can do is we can do this slice M2. I don't know, this is like a little M2 right there. Do a U2, M2 again, and that will solve for this and this together. And so now the next part is solving for this, the last edges. So you can see what I'm setting up right here. I'm setting up to do the corner flipping algorithm, which is just R, U, R prime, and that will solve for both edges. You're going to come across a situation like this where we want to put these on the right side. So we got to remember that it's going to be green that's going to be here. So we're going to do like this, U2 that way. And that's solved for all the centers except for one, and all of our 3 edges are preserved. So now we're going to solve for the last edge, which is this one. So let's go ahead and look for it. Here is our piece right here. We're going to insert it like this on this side now, which is going to be L prime U L, and that will allow us to do it like that. And since we broke off the centers in this situation, we're going to just insert a random edge inside like that. And now we can preserve and put this piece down there. So you can already tell that in the basic method, what we do is we usually just solve all the centers, but in this way, we actually solve all the edges, and that makes the process a whole lot more faster. So let's go ahead and go on to solving the first F2L pairs. So now we're looking for 2 F2L pairs or 2 F2L edges to solve for. So we're going to do the blue and red first. So I'm going to insert it like I did before, like that, and I'm going to solve for that, making sure to put this in a random place as usual and moving it out of the way. So you can see right here, we have that one right there, and we're going to start off by pairing it. Here is the edge. We're going to solve for it like if it was an F2L pair. And I've put it right here. The next part is solving for the next one, which is going to be the green and the red. So we put that one right here, make sure this is right there. Insert it together, put in a random piece in, and exit out of it. And now we're going to solve for the green and red as if they were an edge. There we go. And now what we're going to do, so we just completed the next phase of the Yao method, which is having 2 F2Ls in the back. And we want it in the back slot so that we can focus all of the rest of the edges on these 2 slots only. So we're going to start off with solving this green piece right here. We're going to insert it through there. We're going to put it through here. This is where the Yao method comes in. You can see that this is a orange and green, and I can see that there's an orange and green right there. So I'm going to move it down right here because it wants to go down there. So you would have it moving down like that. Then you would insert it like that, and you've already solved for 2 edges essentially. The next part is going for this top one, and this is a red and yellow. So we put in a red and yellow in there, insert the pair, This is a blue and orange, so we're going to insert a blue and orange down here because it's on top. So let's insert it down there and move it back. We have essentially solved for all of the edges now, and now the next part is just solving for these two F2L pairs. And now we are basically at last layer where we will encounter OLO. If you guys don't know what the OLO parity is, I'll put it up on screen and I will do it right now. And that solves for OLO parity right there. Next is to do PLL. This is also a PLL parity, and I will put up the link right. I'll put in right here what the PLL parity is. Solve for PLL. And there you go, guys. The cube has been solved. So this is essentially what it means to do the Yao method. Let me go and scramble the cube again and go through it one more time. This is kind of a walkthrough solve of it. So yeah. So first step is to build the white center. First center done. Second step is to build the yellow center. Both of them have been built. Now the third part is building 3 edges together. So you can pick whichever 3 edges you want as long as they follow the correct color scheme. So if you were to pick blue as your first one, you have to make sure that on the left is going to be orange and the right is going to be red. Therefore, if you start with red, blue has to be on the left, green has to be on the right. You have to make sure that the color scheme is correct, otherwise this method will not work. So make sure when you're building your edges that the color scheme matches the edge compared to the color scheme on any 3x3 or 4x4. Just make sure you have a cube that has the correct color scheme. Alright, so we can see right here, we can see move down the green. So this is green, which means this is going to be red, this is going to be orange. So let's look for an orange, move it up there. I can move this up there and do that Y2. Move them together like that. So now we have the green and orange. Now we need to look for, now all we need to do is look for the red and the white. So we have one right there and we have one right there. So if you come across a situation like this, here's a pretty cool trick that I learned. What you can do is you can move this down right here to move that up, then you can move it back up and you'll be able to pair them together like that without destroying any damage. So that's a pretty cool trick to learn. So now that we have completed the first 3 edges, we're going to start off with building the green center. So there's one right there, making sure that this is empty. And the way to move around is to have like all 3 layers and just move around like that. Just keeping sure the hold of this. Then we have another piece right there. And we can insert it just like that. And now we can work on this side, which is the orange side. So we can see we have a pair right there. So we're just going to insert it like how we did the yellow side, moving up right there, doing a U2, then moving down. Now we're on the last 2, so we can see that this has to be the red side because green is there and red has to be there. So we're going to put it in as red was there, and there we go. That is going to, also I forgot to, also when you're done building all the edges, make sure that you align all the colors where they're supposed to be. That way the last one is aligned also. Next step is to solve for the blue edge. Once you're done with the blue edge, you're going to make 2 F2L pairs. It could be any 2 F2L pairs. I see one right there, and I'm going to solve for it right now. Oh. Blue and thing is solved. So I think next I'm going to go for is this blue and orange piece. So let's look for the blue and orange. Here it is right here. Let's move it in right there. Pair them together. Move it out of the way. That way we could solve for it. There we go. Next step is to just use keeping the F2Ls in the back. We solve for these 2, so we just use these 2 slots to solve for the rest of the edges. So let's keep going with the edges. Let's see. This is, since this is green and white and we see it right here, we're going to move it down right here at the bottom. Up here is the blue and the yellow, so let's move it down there and move it in there. And interestingly, we actually do not have the piece right there. The piece is actually right here. So we cannot move it out of the way. The reason we cannot move this out of the way is because if we moved it, then we would mess up the pair back here. So you got to make sure that it's only this one that you're moving in and out, not this piece back here, only this piece. And since it's out there, we're just going to put a random edge inside because we cannot put it there. And now we're going to actually go back and move it there to solve for that edge. And since this one needs to go there, we're going to put it on top and move it that way. So there we go. We have that. Solve for F2L. This is basically 3x3 stage now. Solve for OLL. If you have PLL, do the PLL parity. I do not have the PLL parity. And that solves the 4x4. So guys, that is about it for my tutorial on how to solve the 4x4 using the Yao method. Leave down any questions or comments below. If you guys ask enough questions, I'll make a follow-up video answering your questions on all the misconfusions you may have had on this video. I don't really see anything else to do. This was the more advanced part of the tutorial. If this was a little bit too fast for you, then I would say learn how to solve the beginner's method first. I'll leave a link down below to that of my tutorial. For the beginner's method, learn that first and then you can come to this one. That way you have a better grasp of what I'm doing. But yeah guys, that is about it for this video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to go ahead and give it a like. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more awesome videos, and I'll see you on the next video. It's the Cuban Bear out. Peace out guys.